I don't mind if I lose an election, but I want to lose an election fair and square. What I don't want to do is have it stolen from the American people. That's what we're fighting for, and we have no choice to be doing that.
Last-minute rule changes. Zuckerberg are spending a lot of money in Democratic areas. Yep. Suppressing the news, talk about interference in the election. Then you have people not following the rules, skirting the anti-harvesting rules and things like collecting ballots and stuff. They send the ballot out to the last known address. You have hundreds and hundreds of ballots sloshing around the system, okay? That and harvesting are the two main areas where it engenders fraud.
A well-funded cabal of powerful people ranging across industries and ideologies, working together behind the scenes to influence perceptions, change rules and laws. They got states to change voting systems and laws and helped secure hundreds of millions in public and private funding. Recruited armies of poll workers and got millions of people to vote by mail for the first time.
Now what we're talking about is mailing them to everyone on the voter list when everyone knows those voter lists are inaccurate. People who should get them don't get them, which is what has been one of the major complaints in states that have tried this in municipal elections.
Here's one. The people moved 11 years ago, 22 years ago. This person died. That's a problem.
People who get them are not the right people. They're people who have replaced the previous occupant, and they can make them out. And sometimes multiple ballots come to the same address with a whole several generations of occupants. Do you think that's a way to run a vote?
They're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots.
This is playing with fire. We're a very closely divided country here. And if people have to have confidence in the results of the election and the legitimacy of the government, and people trying to change the rules to this methodology, which as a matter of logic is very open to fraud and coercion, is reckless and dangerous. And the people are playing with fire.
We have 74,243 mail-in ballots where there is no clear record of them being sent. And just to be clear, here in the state of Arizona, there's EV32s and EV33s. EV32s is supposed to give a record of when a mail-in ballot is sent, and an EV33 is supposed to give a record of when the mail-in ballot is received. We can tie them to a specific individual that was mailed to. And so we have 74,000 where we have them came back from individuals where we don't have a clear indication that they were ever sent out to them.
Bipartisan commission chaired by Jimmy Carter and James Baker said back in 2009 that mail-in voting is fraught with the risk of fraud and coercion. Let me talk.
Yeah, please.
And since that time, there have been in the newspapers, in networks, academic studies saying it is open to fraud and coercion.
They successfully pressured social media companies to take a harder line against disinformation. Private philanthropy stepped in to the breach.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg told CBS This Morning the platform will police election disinformation.
There's nothing illegitimate about taking a few extra days or even weeks in order to make sure that all the votes get counted.
There were significant financial transactions from private and nonprofit organizations that had a severe impact on the 2020 general election.
People who were working for the owner of Facebook had unprecedented control over the mechanics of the election.
They used censorship of the social media accounts they didn't like.
They pulled some strings, and they got the oldest newspaper in America kicked off the internet for 3 critical weeks before the election.
And they censored all information about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and all of the corruption in that family. If this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
Right. President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue.
Laptop from hell.
I was very disturbed during the debate when candidate Biden lied to the American people about the laptop. He squarely confronted with the laptop, and he suggested that it was Russian disinformation and pointed to the letter written by some intelligence people that was baseless. which he knew was a lie.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this where you're going? This is where he's going.
Russia. It became an excuse for everything, even Hunter's laptop. They're not saying it's from Russia anymore, by the way.
As soon as this letter came out from these so-called intelligence specialists, the DNI, John Radcliffe at the time, came out and said this was not the result of disinformation.
The FBI is now investigating whether those alleged Hunter Biden emails are actually connected to a larger foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence.
Well, those people lied. And well done to the New York Post for standing up, publishing the story, and calling those liars out.
Would you say that there was a conspiracy between big tech, former intelligence officials, the media, the Democrats to, I don't know, let's just use the word rig an election?
Definitely. That definitely made an impact on the election.
Okay.
The suppressing that news. And it's not a question of whether it was criminal or not.
Right.
Just the facts alone were shameful.
I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave you. They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know. Maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
And most Americans would immediately see what was going on and how repulsive it was, and it would have had an effect.
According to polling, of the people that were made aware of the Hunter Biden laptop story, 53% would have changed their vote, including 61% of Democrats. This is the definition of election meddling, and it's the definition of election meddling by the FBI on behalf of Democrats, paid for by the U.S. taxpayers. It's collusion, it's corruption, and it's unconstitutional.
Just recently it was revealed that Google rewrote its whole program. You saw that. In order to target Donald Trump. They targeted me.
Congress, in the National Defense Authorization Act, bipartisanly, changed the law to let the CIA engage in disinformation domestically.
Leading up to the 2020 election, Twitter had weekly meetings with not just the FBI, with DOJ, with DHS, with DNI, to conduct this unconstitutional censorship by surrogate. We know that because of the Twitter files, correct?
Correct.
And it was not just meetings, not just censorship of stories like the Hunter Biden laptop story. We also now know that the FBI paid Twitter over $3.4 million of taxpayer funds to censor these stories before the 2020 election. Is that correct?
That money was paid. Twitter confirmed that.
There was a corrupt revolving door at the highest levels between the FBI and Twitter. Look no further than Jim Baker, former general counsel at the FBI who helped unlawfully investigate Donald Trump in the 2016 election. Or look at Jim Comey's deputy chief of staff, who became the director of strategy at Twitter.
In other words, they successfully pressured social media companies to censor their political dissidents, to enforce their rules, both by removing content or accounts that spread disinformation and by more aggressively policing it in the first place.
Twitter added a fact-check label to President Trump's tweets.
If the Twitter president can't tweet what he wants, if his campaign can't post freely on Facebook, well, it could put a huge dent in his chances.
This morning, President Trump waking up without his favorite megaphone. Twitter permanently banning the commander-in-chief's personal account with 88 million followers. Trump moved quickly to post from the official POTUS account, attacking Twitter, Democrats, and the radical left. Those tweets taken down within minutes. Twitter's actions sparking celebration and outrage. Nikki Haley saying this is what happens in China, not our country.
President Trump's campaign responded, saying Twitter is trying to obstruct and interfere with President Trump getting his message through to voters. and is using the fact-checked badge as a smokescreen to try to lend their obvious political tactics some false credibility.
We're demanding an end to the shadow banning, a stop to the silencing, and a stop to the blacklisting, banishing, and canceling that you know so well. Our case will prove this censorship is unlawful, it's unconstitutional, and it's completely un-American.
They changed election rules and laws. I mean, we have all the videos. We have the videos of the trucks arriving now with the votes. There it is right there. Trucks arriving with pallets of votes after the polls were closed. So they changed laws. They censored the internet. A secret shadow cabal in coordination, all of it.
The only way to restore trust in our system is with facts.
For example, we indicted someone in Texas, 1,700 ballots collected from people who could vote. He made them out and voted for the person he wanted to.
In the 2008 race, Democratic operatives in Indiana were convicted of faking signatures on the presidential petitions that put then Senator Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton on the ballot. So many signatures were phony that authorities said the president may not have actually had enough signatures to qualify for the primary ballot. Is that your signature on this?
That's not my signature.
Did you sign this petition for Barack Obama?
No.
You need 500 signatures from each congressional district in Indiana. In South Bend, President Obama qualified with 534 signatures. But prosecutors said 100 to 200 signatures were faked, so that brings the Obama number down below the legal number that he needed to qualify. The prosecutor told me, had this been caught at the time, Maria, the president probably would not have qualified for the ballot and would have been bounced from that primary ballot. But all this fraud wasn't caught until 3 years after the election.
This is unbelievable.
It makes it impossible for a guy that wins to win. It's a crooked system, folks.
At least 36 batches of mail-in ballots from the November election were double counted in Fulton County. That's a total of more than 4,000 votes, enough potentially to affect the outcome of the election. Surveillance footage obtained by VoterGA appears to show large numbers of ballots being scanned multiple times.
Here's an example of election anomalies that took place in 2020.
So now we would take the ballots and we would scan them. It's going to feed these ballots through the scanner. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to overvote.
What do you mean by overvote?
Overvote is when if there is multiple people in a section where it says only vote for one.
So you're scanning the same ballots twice. That's already been scanned once.
I've already scanned them once.
Yeah, so you're scanning the same
ballots twice. You just accepted every one of them. Every one of them went through the system. There it is, the fifth batch.
Okay.
It's pending adjudication. I think I want to vote for Biden. Let's let Biden win this one. And complete.
So you made a vote for someone where someone did not vote?
I did, didn't I?
And you're the election supervisor?
I'm the election supervisor. I am the person that sits and does the adjudication.
When VoterGA finally forced Fulton County to turn over the tally sheets, the conclusion was stunning. Here's what the audit found. Quote, 7 falsified audit tally sheets containing fabricated vote totals. For example, a batch containing 59 actual ballot images for Joe Biden and 42 for Donald Trump was reported as 100 for Biden and 0 for Trump. Wait, did you just follow that? How is that not flat-out criminal fraud? None of the ballots had any creases on them. That's strange because, of course, mail-in ballots need to be bent in order to be mailed in. These ballots clearly had never been inside an envelope. The group's audit found, for example, that, quote, over 200 Fulton County mail-in ballot images contained votes that were not included in the hand count audit results for the November election. Now, why is that? And then there's this. An elections expert called Mark Davis analyzed data from the post office. He found that nearly 35,000 Georgia voters moved out of their county of residence more than a month prior to Election Day. They were ineligible to vote, and yet they did. They still voted in their old county. That is illegal. It's not a small thing. Violating election law is something we should care about. And by law, their votes should have been excluded from the total. But they were not excluded.
Based on the registration information that we found in the voter rolls, we have 3,981 individuals who show as having voted in this election, and their data shows up in the canvas as having voted in this election. However, they were registered after October 15th.
Why are we okay with that? Why are we okay with any of this? Well, we're okay with it because we've been told we have to be okay with it. We're undermining democracy if we ask questions about what happened during the 2020 election.
We have 11,326 people that did not show up on a November 7th version of the voter rolls that should have been after votes were cast, but then appeared on the December 4th voter rolls. And just to be clear, they show as voted in this past election, but they were not a November 7th version of the file, and they did show up on the December 4th version.
Okay, that sounds confusing.
The only ballots that should count in this election are those cast by eligible voters who are citizens of our country, residents of the states in which they voted, and who cast their ballots in a lawful manner before the legal deadline.
Without answers to legitimate questions like the ones we just posed, and those are legitimate questions, democracy dies. People begin to understand that the system they've been told is on the level is in fact rigged.
We need a systematic analysis of the mail-in ballots to review the envelopes. It's about the signature.
When mail-in ballots were received, that so many of them were received, that the standards reduced over time. They originally talked about there was initially 20 points of comparison on the signature, and then after some time they're told to go to 10 points of signature, 10 points of comparison, then 5, and then eventually they were just told to let every single mail-in ballot through. So we think it's important, understand with the course of our settlement, the only thing we can look at is blank signatures, but we think it's important to get the mail-in ballot images and see how many, if any, blank signatures came through, because that could have a material impact on the election.
Okay. Do we not have those images of the envelopes?
We do not have those images.
This fraudulent election is it's basically another stage in this effort to get rid of somebody who stepped in their way and got in their way to take power from them for a period of time. They want power back.
Many very smart people have congratulated me on all we've done. The single greatest achievement in your presidency will be exactly what you're doing right now. Voter integrity. January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. So with the resolve and support of the American people, we will restore honesty and integrity to our elections, and we will restore trust in our system of government.
Contrary to the current political narrative, the election systems and their equipment were connected to the internet, making them infinitely hackable.
Voting machines themselves are not connected to the internet.
No voting machines are connected to the internet.
The devices are not connected to the internet.
They do not connect to the internet.
Those things are not connected to the internet.
The Department of Homeland Security says the 2020 election was the most secure in American history.
The 2020 election was the most secure in U.S. history.
That's what they say now, but just a short while ago, the political narrative was very different.
In 2018, electronic voting machines in Georgia and Texas deleted votes for certain candidates or switched votes from one candidate to another.
We brought in folks who, before our eyes, hacked election machines.
Workers were able to easily hack into an electronic voting machine. It was possible to switch votes.
Even hackers with limited prior knowledge, tools, and resources are able to breach voting machines in a matter of minutes.
Remote access software, which would make a machine like that, a magnet for fraudsters and hackers.
Let me be clear. Voting systems are, by design, meant to be used as closed systems that are not networked, meaning they are not connected to the internet.
Initiated by a court order, the Michigan investigation team obtained forensic access to a DS-200 tabulator, the machine that counts the votes. A Telit 4G wireless chip manufactured in Taiwan was discovered embedded into the motherboard.
It sounds like some of these machines are showing the tabulators can and are connected to the internet.
Throughout, you're going to, particularly where a vote is cast on election day, those machines tend to and should not be connected to the internet.
At this very moment, at a polling location in the county, not only do we now have access through the devices to the poll pad, the system, but we are in. and it's not supposed to have Wi-Fi, and that's not supposed to be able to happen. So we've documented now it's communicating two ways in real time, meaning it's receiving data and sending data.
Some may have modems that are typically disabled, but in certain states, I believe in Wisconsin, some are temporarily activated to transmit some counts.
But those tabulators are connected on election day because that's how they transmit the data to the counties and also into the unofficial.
In some cases, yes, sir.
Yeah.
As that data is being exchanged and somebody's in it, can actually siphon off that data, modify the data, and feed it right back into the system.
The counties don't own or control their voting data. The election sites for numerous counties in the U.S. go to Madrid, Spain. Our teams have gathered indisputable evidence that the entire system can indeed be connected, hacked, and manipulated.
And it's all about access to power and basically ruling this country. It's now been exposed in such a way.
This is the end of the CIA and its capability to insert into our presidency the people that they've nurtured and created.
What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people.